By madness, starving, hysterical. I should be allowed to glue my poster. I should be allowed to think. I should be allowed to glue my poster. I should be allowed to think. I should be allowed to think. I should be allowed to think. And I should be allowed to learn the nearest idea.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and to bring everybody up to speed, welcome to another episode of the Atheist Experience. We are live June 20th. I am your host, Ashley Perry, and my co-host this week,
Don Baker.
Thank you very much for joining us. Russell Glasser was supposed to be on this week, but apparently he had something. Yep, some last things came up, and he is not able to be here. So. Anyway, it is June 20th. We are live, and we are being sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings every Sunday at Crescent City Beignets on 6th Street, a couple of blocks west of Lamar. That's every Sunday. It starts at around, we get there around 11:30 and go on for a couple hours from there. That's every Sunday, save the third Sunday of every month when we have our lecture series at the Austin History Center on 9th and Guadalupe. Being the third Sunday of the month, we were at the History Center. We didn't actually have a lecture today, exactly. There are ongoing talks between the Atheist Community of Austin. This is something that we're not entirely public on yet. We're still hashing out some details. Between the Atheist Community of Austin and the Center for Inquiry, CFI. They are considering opening up a branch somewhere in Texas, and Austin is one of their potential candidate places. And we are in talks with them to try and get them to come to Austin, and we would be in some form of relationship with them. And that's what we're trying to find out what we're going to do. And so we were talking about that with the membership today, to find out exactly what kind of things we'd want to do with the CFI, assuming that they came and opened it up in Austin. We do have a speaker lined up for next month. I'm not too sure who it is, but I want to say it's something, it's a lawyer or an attorney working for some kind of church-state separation organization. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I don't think it's the ACLU.
Oh, it is
then again, perhaps it is the ACLU. And we don't have it nailed down firm as to exactly what they're going to talk about. Something church-state separation would be fairly obvious choice, though. That will be the third Sunday of next month in July. Other regular things that we do outside of the Sunday meetings, every Monday night we have Godless Gamers at the house of Russell Glasser. Get there around 7 o'clock and play board games, card games, all that kind of fun stuff. Just have a grand old time. If you go to our website, atheist-community.org, and write to the webmaster, he can give you details there on exactly directions and time and such. Also, every Thursday, we have Atheist Happy Hour at Antonio's Tex-Mex on the southbound feeder of I-35, just south of 183. That starts around 7:30, and it's just pure socialization. It's just a good time to sit around and talk and have a couple beers. All these meetings are opened up to anyone who is interested in coming. You do not have to be a member of the group, and they're open to any atheist or atheist-friendly people. None of these are a meeting to come and debate with us or challenge us or, hand us tracts or anything. That's what this show is for the debate side. Also, every other Saturday on atheistnetwork.com, we have our internet audio show, The Non-Prophets, which is hosted by Jeff D., producers Russell Glasser, and co-hosted by Dennis Loubet. That starts at 2 and goes to 3:30, and that's news and announcements and discussion by and for atheists. And again, that's atheistnetwork.com every other Saturday, 2 to 3:30. They just had a show yesterday, so the next show, I'm assuming, will be the 3rd, June 3rd. Or July 3rd. And I believe that is it for our regular announcements that I can think of. So anyway, again, we are live today. It's June 20th. We'll be opening the phones up in a little bit for callers. If you have any comments, any questions, anything like that for us, go ahead and give us a call, and we'll try and answer them for you. But for the moment, we're going to go over to Don Baker, who's got one or two quick things to go over.
Yeah, well, you know, we're all about church-state separation. We take that very seriously, and so we thought we'd talk about a big thing that happened in the news this week about church-state separation, and that is the Supreme Court decision on the pledge case. And we wanted to maybe bring up some issues of that, talk about the ruling a little bit. It also has sort of a Father's Day tie-in. Today's Father's Day, and you know, it was a man that brought the pledge, brought the suit against his school, his daughter's school.
Ultimate gift for his daughter.
Right, so. Right. So, and the whole issue of fatherhood and what that really means actually plays into this court decision, which is kind of interesting as well. So the pledge case is all about you know, the words "under God" in the pledge and whether those really belong there, whether children should be forced to say those in school and such. And
that was actually the main crux of the case.
That was the main crux of the case.
Not so much that "under God" was in the pledge. That was at contention. But the fact that in California, in the school district, they had a requirement for schools that they must have some kind of patriotic act. And that patriotic act would be mandatory recitation of the pledge at the beginning of the day. So
and then this "under God" phrase got put in there, right?
Exactly.
It became part of the issue, right? And for those that don't know, this word under, or this little phrase "under God" was inserted in the pledge much later after it was written. So it actually showed up in the 50s during
54, I want to say.
54, that's right. And it was all about at that time. It was all about the communist scare and those pinko communists, and we got to distinguish ourselves from them. They don't worship God, or they've sort of, you know, suppressed religion there. Therefore, we got to promote it here. And at the time, that was very much part of the thinking that this distinguishes us from those guys. And there's this long, there's this very common contention that people have that oh, we can't say the pledge now, and they want to raise this as a persecution issue, that the children are not able to say the pledge with "under God," and that's just patently false. And I want to dispel that myth right now. The issue is about whether or not schools, as a representative of the government, can force people to make claims about religion one way or the other. It's all about whether or not the school is dictating something about the children. Right? The children themselves can do whatever they want. They can add "under God" or not. So that's really what it's about.
And usually contention in that area is they're never forced to say it. Kids can always opt out of it.
Yes.
Now, I have heard,
and we actually have we have to thank the Jehovah's Witnesses for that. So
but I've actually heard. I know we had a caller a couple months back when we were talking something about this related. I can't remember exactly how. In her school, it actually required a note from their parents to get out of it. So the kid on their own could not say, "I don't want to say the pledge" for whatever reason. They had to get a note from their parents to get out of it. And I just don't know if, I can't imagine that would be right. And also,
well, you know,
a child is able to opt out of it if they, you know, for religious reasons, for instance. But when they do something like that, they're basically placing themselves in front of the class to say, "Look, I'm different than everybody else." And when you're in third grade, that's a bad thing to do.
In fact, I met a woman. We were on Lonnie Stern's radio show on KOP the other night, and we actually had a guest with us who happened to be a Wiccan, but she was raised a Jehovah's Witness, and as a child, she had to opt out of the pledge, and she was talking to us after the show about how hard that was for her to do that, and all the difficulty and all the, you know, that her favorite teacher basically didn't like her after that, and all the peer pressure of her students, fellow students. It's not something. You know, it's coercion. It's that simple.
Kids are not legally required to say it, but they are definitely coerced into saying it.
Right.
So.
And of course, a lot of folks have said, well, this doesn't matter, right? It's just ceremonial deism. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. But you know, when you have religious groups really fighting hard for it, and you have you know, the entire Congress making a big case to say this in front of the cameras, and I think there was a situation a while back where one of the congressmen led the pledge without the under God, which is the way he had learned it as a child, and there was a huge furor over that. And if it doesn't matter, then why would there be such a furor? That just doesn't make any sense.
And also the idea that just ceremonialism all of a sudden makes it okay. What if we still had things in place, as Amanda, a member of the group, had said, if it was just ceremonial racism?
Right, ceremonial racism.
It's just ceremonial or something.
So
like
this is a big slippery slope there, we think. And our group was actually involved in the case to challenge the pledge.
Yes.
We filed what's called an amicus brief, which is a friend of the court brief, and we were one of quite a few groups to do that. But that was our way of participating in this, and we made a lot of good arguments there. I believe that's on our website.
Yes, I believe, I'm almost positive it is. But yeah, Jeff D. and Amanda wrote documents that went into that, at least in part, and they made some excellent points in there.
Right, right. Another case they make is, well, if you say under God, it's generic, right? It applies to everybody, right? But if you think about Buddhists and atheists, they don't buy into this whole God thing at all, so they're excluded. Hindus have multiple gods, so they're excluded. We have the Wiccans, who might call it a goddess, instead of a god. Yeah. We have the Muslims who don't like the word God. They worship Allah, and God is this proper noun thing is all messed up. Even the deists, the founding fathers, who are deists, wouldn't like this under God thing, because they don't believe that that God is sitting there watching and being a cheerleader or giving blessings in an active way. So this whole under God thing really excludes a lot of people. It really is about Christianity, in my opinion. Okay, so we had this Newdow guy. His daughter was forced to say the pledge. This happens all over the United States. It's not a unusual thing at all. And he challenged in California, I believe, and went through the Ninth Circuit Court there, and he got a favorable ruling for the pledge, and there was a big furor over it, right? And then it ended up going to the Supreme Court. It turns out he has a kind of unusual relationship with his daughter. He is a father of this daughter, but he is not married to to the mother of the daughter, and was never married. Okay. And he doesn't have complete custody of her. And this turned out to be a very, very important issue. Is the custody issue actually played into the Supreme Court decision, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I think one thing that needs to be said is pretty much anybody could make this challenge.
Yes.
Because it's a very common thing, pretty much, and anybody who has a child in a school district where this pledge is required. Yeah. So, and he's kind of an interesting guy, because he more or less single-handedly took on this pledge case. He went and got a law degree and filed all the papers and did all this, and he's never really argued cases in court. He's actually, his first job is
EMT, I think?
An EMT, well, an emergency room doctor.
Okay.
So he's a pretty interesting character, and you know, we live in such a wonderful country for someone who really is passionate about defending the Constitution can actually do that without a huge amount of resources, with a little bit of help from others, and you know, it's just a great country to be able to do that. So, okay, so we had this go all the way to the Supreme Court, and they agreed to hear it because it's an important case. We have situations where they often take cases where the circuit courts come up to different conclusions, right? Because they need to sort of make sure that everybody's kind of in agreement with respect to the Constitution, and this is a big deal as far as the church-state separation. So they agreed to hear it, and then they decided that he didn't have standing, which is somewhat unusual, and that the lower courts didn't say that. And what this means is, in the way of standing, is it means that he wasn't injured by this situation, right? this again hinged on his custody issue, that he didn't have full custody of the child, so in effect that he wasn't harmed by her having to say the pledge.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is an important constitutional principle. You got to have standing, right?
Yeah.
You got to be affected by the law in order to challenge the law. So. Yeah. So that's fine, but this raises a lot of very kind of scary issues in that a father, let's say we have a father and mother who aren't married of a child, and we have disagreements over religion or other things, or medical care or whatever, and now all of a sudden one of the parties is not able to bring suit in cases where it might actually be to the child's benefit for them to do that. Yeah. Right? So we have a lot of religious people that don't believe in having their children see doctors, right? Yeah. And so if we have a father who
which I think there was a case about that. I think it was actually a Canadian case.
Mm-hmm.
But
this comes up a lot with Christian Scientists and some of the other, yeah. So it's a possibility that a child could be harmed by this, or that parents will have these huge custody fights in order to try to do what's best for the child, and I think overall the child's going to be harmed by this sort of thing. So,
but then again, the way that I was seeing this is, while I don't like that they essentially dodged it based on the standing, I can understand the idea that if they don't have standing, they shouldn't be allowed to go to court for it. Because now, while this is one of those gray area cases, and it's not like he was, a bad father and so they kicked him out or something like that. I can imagine similar situations arising where the father had been forced out of, let's say they were married, had a kid, and now the husband started, abusing the kid or something like that.
Right. And then was denied custody for that reason. Right.
Custody. Should the father then have standing to sue and say, to affect the life of the daughter or the son or whatever?
Right, right.
It can lead to some very scary situations, possibly. So I can kind of sort of go on to it and understand where they're coming from with that.
Yeah.
I don't like how it turned out.
Yeah, so they kind of took a conservative stance in regard to that. It's kind of a delicate issue. It's not black and white. And given that problem was there, they, I think, more or less decided to not do it. What is kind of interesting, and we can continue talking about, why don't you give the phone number, and we'll take some calls.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to wait for some names to come in. But again, this is a live call-in show. It's June 20th. Go ahead and give us a call if you got any questions, comments, concerns, snide remarks, anything like that.
Either about the topic or about atheism in general.
Exactly. This is the Atheist Experience. So anything on the pledge ruling or, again, general questions for us, please give us a call.
Okay, and I was going to say that yes, they denied standing, but they also issued an opinion, which is kind of unusual too. Usually, when they deny standing, they just basically say, "Period, end of statement, go away." But three of the justices basically said, "This pledge thing is okay. We kind of like it." One of the justices, Scalia, recused himself, which basically meant he said, I have a conflict of interest given that I've spoken out against it in the past.
Exactly.
I'm going to step down, I'm going to step away from this case, which is, I think, an honorable thing to do if you have a conflict of interest. And then the other justices didn't say anything, and so there's a lot of speculation about how they would have ruled. Yeah. So I've seen it spun lots of different ways.
Well, the only ones who actually said anything about this case were... I want to say it was Thomas. Scalia recused himself. I can't remember the justice, but they were all the ones on the far right. And so they're the ones who are basically going to say, regardless of any arguments that come up, we think it should stay. Yeah. And so they put forward arguments that this is purely historically based and all this kind of stuff.
So, but Clarence Thomas had a very odd case, very odd opinion in this. But go ahead.
But going on with it, though, I'm wondering what could happen, assuming, because they didn't make a ruling in any way, shape, or form. They just said, we don't want to hear it. If next year someone comes up with another case and they do accept it,
which is likely, now, it's likely will be challenged again.
All the wacko judges have just issued opinions.
Oh, are they all going to have to recuse themselves?
Are they all going to recuse themselves?
No, I don't think so.
In the next case? I hope so.
No, because they actually ruled this time rather than agitated.
Okay.
So I don't think so. I don't think so.
But still, it means that they're going in with an opinion before they've actually heard the facts of the case.
Well,
so
yeah.
So
well, they did hear the facts of the case in this case as well. I think Newdow did a pretty good job arguing the case.
Okay.
It was also unusual that he argued the case himself, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. So it'll be a little bit. There'll be some gray area there, but.
Justice Thomas, Clarence Thomas, thinks he issued a ruling that basically says that states. He thinks that states can establish religions. Which is a very odd argument that the Establishment Clause doesn't mean that the entire government has to stay out of religious issues, which is pretty much what everybody thinks. But he thought that states like Utah or Texas or whatever could say, well, our official religion is Mormonism or baptism.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the article that you're reading there, but I got an article forwarded to me from a friend this week, and I meant to get it on the list. About some of the rulings and opinions that Thomas has had in this and other cases.
As it turns out, there's something in today's paper about that very thing.
Very scary character.
He is.
He is a really scary man.
Right. And so he's argued that the Establishment Clause gives no individual rights or no individual protections to individuals. It's all about states as far as he's concerned.
Yeah.
So that's pretty odd, pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's a very scary character.
Yeah. So
I'll have to try and dig up that article and send it out to the list and perhaps have it here next week.
Well, as I said, in today's Statesman, there's an article just about him and his rulings.
Okay. All right. Do we have? Yes, we do have names. All right, we can go on and take one or two quick calls.
Yeah.
Let's go on to Camilla. How you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Yeah, quite well. What you got for us?
Well, I am an old lady. I was born in 1922.
Okay.
All right.
I just had my 82nd birthday.
Well,
how wonderful!
Happy belated birthday.
I was a grandmother before Eisenhower got around to putting those two words into the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wow!
Wow. Okay.
I have a lot of children, and I have more than that of grandchildren.
Okay.
Some of my grandchildren are even got the degrees I wish I'd gotten around to getting.
Wow. Okay.
It's not too late.
Yeah.
At this point in time, I'm taking a course in writing so I can write my life story.
How wonderful.
There you go. Cool. Excellent.
And but my idea is that religion is a very personal thing. Whether you believe in whatever kind of God you believe in, it's yours.
Yeah.
It's not something...
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
...that the government of wherever you live has any right to dictate to you.
Yeah.
That's right. We agree with that entirely.
Yeah, and that's a lot of...
This is my first contact, actually, to get into on a talk program.
Well,
okay, well, welcome.
We're honored.
I tried before, but the lines were pretty big.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we've seen a couple different things, and like say, having the government decide how you should lead your religious life, either in the day of prayer, or by having 10 Commandments monuments up, or by endorsing, some form of religion.
I was so mad at those people for objecting to that gentleman, because the 10 Commandments are public. Well, they are something that you have a right to see, whether you like it or not.
The 10 Commandments?
The 10 Commandments.
Okay. But should the government be putting them up? In the courthouses?
I don't see why not. They can put... Did you know if you took a course in religion at a university, you could compare the 10 Commandments with the other commandments of different other religions, and notice how very similar they are?
Well, mostly because a lot of religions have some similar ideas.
Are offshoots of the Christian religion.
Well, actually, a lot of times it goes the other way around.
Much older.
There's a lot of older religions out there that have things similar to that.
Of rules for good behavior.
Yeah, and so Christianity actually adopted a lot of those from older religions. There's one called, I want to say Zoroastrianism, but I know that's not, Mithraism. Mithraism is a religion that was around hundreds or thousands of years before Christianity, and it had a god who came down to earth as a human. He was born on December 25th. He was killed for his beliefs. He rose again on the third day, and basically it's a parallel. The names have been changed, and that's it. And that was around hundreds of years before Christianity was. When Rome decided to make Christianity its big religion, it just said, okay, we'll take out Mithra, put in Jesus, and there you go.
Well, heck, my given name is older than Christ.
All right.
Actually, my Camilla is from ancient Roman Camillus.
Okay.
And it's come down that way to pronounce it. And I took Camilla Parker Bowles to make the world know how to say my name.
Yeah, but no, I mean...
I'm glad I gave you a laugh.
Yeah, I don't agree, though, with, like, say, the government saying that Ten Commandments is a good thing to put
it up is not saying you have to do it.
Well, no, but it's still an implication.
It's just information standing there.
But it's still an implication that when you walk in, that the one set of religious rules that they have is the Christian one.
Then
so if you're not Christian,
somebody else is alongside of it.
What is that?
I said add another religion's group of rules.
That would be better. That would be better.
That would almost be better, except then you could have these monuments coming up absolutely everywhere, because every religion out there wants one. They have this group called the Summum, and they got their monument put up because I can't remember exactly where this was. I want to say it was on one of the mountain states. But some court or city park there had the Ten Commandments monument up. So they came up and they have their 7 aphorisms. Now this is a weird religion. These are some really strange little people. And basically what happened is they said, look, you've either got to take down the 10 Commandments or you've got to give us our space there. Now, the courts there didn't want to take down 10 Commandments, so fine, we'll put up your 7 aphorisms. They've got this monument up by the 10 Commandments about the Summum 7 aphorisms, which are really, really strange. The beliefs...
And there are so many religions.
The beliefs of this group is not something that you can really get into all that in-depth on public access shows in the middle of a Sunday afternoon. It's not appropriate.
There's a lot of things like that.
So like I say, these people have their monument up on state grounds. I don't think that's right. I don't think that the government should be able to put up something and say there is no God, which is what I think, which is what I believe. I don't think that there is a God. I don't think there should be religion. And so I don't, but
yeah, it gets back to the point she made earlier about the government should not tell you what to believe.
Exactly. So I don't think the government should be out there putting up a monument saying, religious people are all nuts. I don't think they should be doing that at all. Just like they shouldn't put up the 10 Commandments or the 7 aphorisms or anything.
It's a personal thing. It really is.
Exactly. And that's why the government shouldn't be involved in it.
At all.
That's why the Founding Fathers didn't put under God in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Well, they actually didn't write it, but yeah, they have...
well, it came along pretty soon thereafter.
Yes, it wasn't a huge gap in time.
Okay. But still, they went to pretty good lengths to leave religion out of the Constitution.
I second that motion.
There's a good reason for that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Thank you very much for your call.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much for
enjoyed chatting
calling.
with you.
I enjoyed it myself. Thank you.
Okay.
Happy belated birthday too.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, and let's go on to a couple more calls. Let's go to Jim. Is that you?
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
I got a boy name. Not my fault.
Okay.
What is an
well, I'm Ashley.
Oh, what is an atheist?
An atheist is simply someone who doesn't believe in God.
Really?
Yeah. That's basically pure and simple what it is. Now, there are other things that can go along with it, but
really?
But typically it's just someone who doesn't believe that.
You're a stupid fag! Stop!
Okay, grow up. Okay, what other names do we have? We have got, okay, let's go on to Stan. How you doing?
Hi.
Hey, what you got for us?
Oh, I really enjoy your show. And
thank you.
like to call whenever I can get a chance. I have a couple questions. One's for Don concerning the recent thing about the Pledge of Allegiance, and wondering if he only had the two choices of one nation under God or one nation under President Bush, would he be happy to say that as opposed to the current pledge?
Okay, I would call that a false dichotomy. You know, I think I would choose option number 3, but I don't know why you think it's a choice that way. But
would you not say it's secular in that regard? It's president. He's the president.
Is it secular? Yes, but does it make it all that much better? No. Well, you would have, for one, you'd have to change it every few years.
Yeah, every few years when the president changed.
Right. Of course, so from a church-state perspective, we'd be neutral to that, but we would object to it on other issues.
Right.
I basically have a central objection to having kids recite the pledge, having a mandatory recitation of the pledge, period. Whether it has under God or not. Under God just makes it a little bit worse, in my opinion. I don't think that we are really taught in schools what exactly the pledge really means at the young age which we're making kids say it. And so it's basically just a whole bunch of empty words. You have to get up every morning and put your hand here and
it's a pretty serious promise.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's got some weight to those words. And I don't think kids really understand what those words really mean. And so I don't think that they should be forced to say something like that.
It's part of almost a brainwashing technique.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
In a sense, yeah.
Exactly, and I just don't agree with that. So now once they get into high school, if it's a voluntary thing, you know, let's say social studies or history
A pledge like that should come from the heart. It shouldn't be something that someone is making you say.
Exactly. If in history class in high school they teach what it is you're actually saying and what the history of the country is and how the pledge relates to it, stuff like that, and then if you want to say it, then you can, then that's great. I'm fully in favor
of that.
But just saying, okay, now, you know, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, you know, just get up and here's some, you know, words that are strung together for you to say, that's basically the meaning of them.
I agree, and I think as a theist myself, God would agree with you also. We shouldn't pray.
So God's on my side for once. Don't get that one very often.
Yes. Make pledges like that or swear by things. And
that was the argument by the Jehovah's Witness, by the way, that they considered it, you know, kind of sacrilegious to have an oath like that. They worship Jehovah, and they didn't think that these oaths were at all compatible with their religion. So, that was actually some earlier rulings that allowed children to opt out of it, although there's still quite a bit of peer pressure and such. So, we agree that it is coercive.
Another question to Ashley: if you ever had kids, would you prevent them from being atheists, or you know how they are? They kind of rebel against their parents and do whatever they know is going to get their goats. What we plan to handle that?
Yeah, if I had kids, and again, it's up to them. If they wanted to go to church and they wanted to learn about the different religions, then I'm all for that. I think that they should learn about it because it's a really important thing. A lot of people in our society are religious. I think it's important that they do at least know the basics.
Part of our culture, part of our environment.
Exactly. Yeah. They should know something about that. And if they decided that, you know, these Christian people, they've kind of got the right idea, and, you know, Dad, you're just playing nuts. I don't agree with him. I don't think he's right, but I'm certainly not going to stop him from going to church if that's what he thinks is the right thing to do.
So you love him anyway?
Of course. If it fits my kids,
That's right.
yeah. So.
Okay. Well, you guys are doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Okay. Thanks a lot for calling. All right. Let's go on to, let's see. James, how you doing? James? Somebody?
Hello?
Yes. Whoever just said hello, that's you.
Not James.
Okay, what's your name?
Well, see, I'm Jim, and that was my brother earlier. I'm very sorry, but can you please finish telling me about the what you were saying earlier?
Okay, get your brother out of the room.
He's out.
Atheism, again, it's just lack of a belief in a God.
And you guys don't have churches?
Nope. Not churches, no. We do get together every week. We have the Atheist Community of Austin, which is a local group, and we get together and we just have coffee and eat donuts and just have a good time, be social. But we don't go to a church and hear, priests or anything like that now.
You have flags?
Flags?
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
Oh.
There's no symbol as such of atheist. Like you got the cross for Christianity, got the Star of David for Judaism, stuff like that. There's no such. There isn't really an equivalent for atheism.
Okay. My friend Kim has something to ask you. Why don't you talk to her really quickly?
Okay. They're going to yell at us. We're going to hang up on them.
Sorry, she just went home.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I sign your head for a nickel? Ashley?
What?
Okay, we're having lots of fun here today.
When is school letting in again?
Yeah.
All right.
Think about mowing the lawn or something. That's right.
All right. Billy, how you doing?
Pretty good.
What you got for us?
I was just calling to ask about the summums.
Okay.
I wanted to see if you can't talk about what they believe on the air, or you don't feel comfortable doing that. I was wondering if you could tell me what sources you got your information from about them so I could find it out myself.
Yeah. I can't remember the details. If you probably do a search for Summum 7 Aphorisms.
How do you spell summum?
I think it's SUMMON
I-M?
or UN, something like that. I think it's ON. Or OM, Mary.
Euphorism?
Aphorisms.
Aphorism, yeah.
Basically, I think their general, the part that I really, now this is like a year and a half, 2 years ago that I heard about the story. I think it was, the kind of general idea is once you get over the fluffy language that they have about it, is essentially God masturbated the universe into existence.
That's kind of like...
So again, it's almost Monty Python-esque. You know?
Yeah.
So it's got some weird things going on in it. But like I say, they got their 7 aphorisms up, so okay.
Have either of you guys, what do y'all think about LaVey's writings, Anton LaVey?
I haven't, he does the Satanist Bible or something like that?
Yeah, the Satanic Bible. He's the founder of the Church of Satan.
I know of it, but that's about it. I haven't actually read any of it. If they actually believe that there is a devil and he is doing things on earth and you can sacrifice goats to get his pleasure or something like that.
Yeah, they don't at all.
That's kind of wacky. But from my understanding, I have read some things that say that they're doing it more as a demonstration type thing against religion.
They say on their, I was reading their theories and practice and everything on their website, and they actually warn people against cults or religious groupings that say they have a direct line to Satan or believe in an actual specific being named Satan. They say they're atheists, and from what I understand, he's just saying they're atheists and they chose the name Satan because of its origins, and they just believe in it as a principle of quote-unquote evil in the world and in nature, like the laws of nature. The strong prey on the weak, this sort of thing.
Okay, so more like human nature and psychology, perhaps, than religion.
It's more like a philosophy than a...
Okay, all right. Like I say, I haven't really done that much reading on it, so I'm not too sure specifically, but that's kind of like some of the stuff I've heard before. So, sorry, I can't give you too many specifics on that one. So
the Summum 7 Aphorisms.
Yep.
All right, man.
Yeah,
that's right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Bye.
Yeah, let me add to that. With this notion that we can add more and more monuments to kind of balance things out, we have this guy Fred Phelps. Doing some interesting things. He's God hates fags. He's from Topeka, Kansas. He's kind of one of these very, very radical Bible literalists. Yeah. And his latest thing is basically that this Matthew Shepard, who was a gay college student who was killed up in Wyoming, he deserved everything he got, and he's burning in hell.
Yeah, I think they even have a counter on his website. number of days Matt Shepard's been in hell or something like that.
So he's kind of embodies everything bad about religion that you can imagine. But he's out there trying to get in on this act too, and creating monuments in various places. In Casper, Wyoming, which is my hometown, is one of the places where he's tried to do this. Create a monument that basically says Matt Shepard's burning in hell.
Yeah,
and
it's got a couple Bible verses on it.
Oh yeah.
So it's got a couple Bible verses on it.
And it's very hard to draw the line between what's good and what's bad, right? Because it's all shades of gray.
Yeah. So he is one very scary character. From my understanding, usually what they end up doing is he will get a couple of his followers together who are also just as wacky as he is. And they go out and protest in front of a church or something like that, and have their sign, God hates fags and whatnot.
Yeah, they protested at funerals and stuff.
And essentially what they're trying to do is incite some violence to get somebody to take a swing at them. And then as soon as you do, they sue the hell out of you.
Yeah, so, I've heard they've even jumped in front of cars to get people to hit them, so that they can play this game. So so they're just pretty awful.
So they've got a weird money-making scheme going on there. It's kind of wacky. So. Anyway, let's go on to, let's see, I think, wow, okay. Ethan, you there?
Hi, I just, after going through some art history classes, it's been a while back, just kind of came to kind of a conclusion, I can't really call it a conclusion, but just a theory and something that I noticed on my own, that as we evolved in our societies and different societies seem to evolve, that they tended to, their gods tended to change in form from either more of a very whole Mother Earth to like animal shapes that are very animalistic, very, very, very animalistic, to humanoid animal shapes, onto as they gained power over the land and the animals, and then they have their own higher rulers that have larger separations between their people and such. They become even more humanoid to where what the rulers are worshiping are basically human.
Right, and it's an extension of the hierarchy of.
And then some of those rulers, even they're like, only thing I can figure is either they're mad or they're the only way they can figure they can. Where do you go from there? The only way you can go from being the ruler over everybody is to become a god. And so some of them have god complex, and it's just something that I've noticed in a lot of art and a lot when I went through art history and.
Oh, absolutely!
And like
I would agree with you.
The hold pretty good with everything I've run into, and I was wondering if there was anything else out there that has come across that.
Well, I'm sure there's been a lot of writing on this. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I would agree with you that religions and our gods are effectively a reflection of ourselves, and maybe not even the best attributes of ourselves. And the nature of religion has changed over time to reflect kind of the cultures that we've lived in. You mentioned God being above kings. For a long time, kings were what kind of ruled various parts of the planet, and they had their hierarchy of lords and all that underneath them, and it just made sense to put the God up there on top. Well, after we got out of that phase, then that sort of king thing kind of faded out of favor, and now we have a kind of more egalitarian, loving sort of Christian God that's being promoted. And you're absolutely right. It's changed over time, and these are reflections of the culture that we live in.
I definitely know that the images have changed over time in certain different religions. I haven't really seen anything specifically on that, so I'm not. I haven't read anything on that specifically. So
okay.
Sorry.
So I don't have any pointers for you, but you have hit upon a theme that I think is true, and I'm quite sure has been written about quite a bit.
Okay. Well, cool. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for calling.
Goodbye.
All right. Let's go on to Jim. How you doing?
Hey.
Hey. What you got for us?
I gotta ask you a question.
All right.
How do you think we evolved? Do you think we evolved from monkeys and stuff?
Not exactly from monkeys.
Because like the only ball part of monkeys, their ass.
Okay. If you can bring your parents into the room, your lawn needs mowing.
That's right.
All right, let's go on to, yeah, the lines are a little bit off. So I can go over something quickly, though.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
Again, we are live today. Go ahead and give us a call if you've got any questions or comments. And we will put, there's the phone number on your screen. This is an email that we got. Again, we have email for the TV show. If you want to write us, it's tv@atheist-community.org. And if you've got any questions, comments, if you don't manage to make it on the air by the end of the show, anything like that, go ahead and write us. And if it's something noteworthy, we'll bring it on the air and see what you got to say. This is one that we got last week. And there's a couple things in here I wanted to go over really quick. One, the writer says, an important aspect of human life is the experience of living within a realm of human playfulness and imagination, often called the creative state. When a group of people play make-believe and agree to believe in a fat guy underneath a tree or a bearded guy telling tales out in Israel, who are we to tell them that they are somehow wrong? Reality does that. Having make-believe and having an imagination is perfectly fine. The movie industry is founded on that. There are games out there that rely on that. Having this alternate reality and fantasies and dreams is perfectly fine. That's normal. Everybody does that. The problem starts when you start believing that those things are more than just in your own head and they're real. I can watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer and have a great time. It's a fun show. But I don't believe that vampires are actually real. And when I go outside, I should, bring a wooden stake or have, garlic around my neck or something like that. I don't believe that it's real. And going farther than that, I don't believe that the government should be outlawing demon worship. Or saying that, vampires should be, rounded up or something like that. You can have fun with an idea and not actually believe it's real. A lot of the religious people do more than just believe in this stuff and say it's kind of a fun thing to believe in, and I get some good things out of it. They're trying to pass judgment based on their beliefs, which have no basis in reality. That's the scary part about it. Also, a little farther down, they make a second point, saying, as far as I know, quantum physics turns Newtonian physics on its head. If science as a belief system can be so radically changed in fundamental ways, such as the change from Newtonian to quantum physics, what are things around the corner, and how do you, as an atheist, feel about putting your faith in a procedural system that may at some point render everything you think today as false? First off, Newtonian and quantum physics are not incompatible. Newtonian physics had a description of the universe which was pretty dang close. It's not correct, but it's close enough to the point where we're a couple hundred years later, and when we send probes out to Mars and Saturn and beyond, we're still using Newtonian physics.
Yeah, we build buildings based on that. We do a lot of practical things.
Exactly. Quantum mechanics is technically more correct than Newtonian, but it doesn't turn Newtonian physics on its head. It's simply a refinement of the previous idea. Science hasn't really...
I think his point is really just sort of, are we prepared for a quantum leap in thinking?
Exactly.
Is the question he was raising.
And I don't think that science really has given us too many of those in a really, really long time. The idea of evolution, for instance. Ever since before Darwin even, the idea of evolution was out there. It's been refined since then, and it has changed since then, and we've cleaned it up a bit. But scientists have not come out and said, hey, look, we found new evidence, and everything that you thought before is now completely wrong. They don't do that.
Right.
What they have is pretty solid. It's going to be cleaned up and refined in the next 5 years, 500 years, 5,000 years. But chances are they're not going to come out with something that says everything you know is wrong. Because apparently we've been living so far and doing okay at it. So,
If there is such a thing, we'll I guess take it under consideration and explore it, and we'll understand it. So we're open in that respect.
Yeah, if they can provide evidence that your whole idea of evolution or physics or whatever was wrong, then okay. If they have evidence to back that up, well then okay, fine. We'll have to go with that because reality says that you should. But like I said, I don't see something like that happening. So they've got things down pretty well. So. All right, let's go on to James. How you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. How about you?
Yeah, quite well. What you got for us?
Well, I do have a question for you.
All right.
I have some papers that might offend you, but hopefully it won't.
We've been doing this show for a couple of years now. We're not offended by much.
It says, in the myth of separation of church and state, Jefferson wrote a letter to the Danbury Baptist Association in which the words, thus building a wall of separation between church and state.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court quoted this in 1947, and it has been used ever since.
Okay.
However, Jefferson's words is not found in the Constitution.
That's right.
So neither is what is it? Right to a fair trial. That's not. I don't believe that that phrase is in there. There's
basically what Jefferson.
Quite a few other concepts that are not in there explicitly that are very much part of our government and our.
Yeah, what he was doing was basically explaining the government's position, explaining what can establish a religion, what that was basically talking about, and saying it's essentially a wall of separation between church and state. Yes, those specific words are not in there, but he's describing it as such.
So you're telling me that your ideas or anything is not really true itself either?
No, it's
false.
No,
I think you have to go back to the original source, which is the First Amendment of the Constitution. There's an Establishment Clause, and there's the Free Exercise Clause, and those two things, there are that the government can't impose religion on people, and people have the right to believe in whatever they want, and I think that's very clear.
Yeah.
And we use this term, the wall of separation, as kind of a certainly a metaphor, some sort of small phrase that really captures that idea, and I think the fact that Jefferson wrote about it and was very proud of that issue and that separation, and it was done through a lot of thought. Yeah. It was not just a haphazard thing. I think that's become a constitutional principle, and that has borne out in lots and lots of decisions since then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, the phrase separation of church and state does not exist in the Constitution. We admit that, but the concept very, very much does.
Yeah. Yeah. So. All right, let's go on to another caller. We have got Lulu. How you doing?
Okay.
All right, what you got for us?
I just wanted to make a comment on, I've been cutting out your little announcements every Saturday ever since I first discovered them a year or so ago.
Okay.
And my favorite one, I think, is Abraham Lincoln's quotation.
Okay.
Okay.
And what's
you want me to repeat this?
Please do.
What is that?
It says, my earlier views of the unsoundness of the Christian scheme of salvation and the human origin of the Scriptures have become clearer and stronger with advancing years, and I see no reason for thinking I shall ever change them. Abraham Lincoln said that.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the early founding fathers has some quotes behind them.
He was smarter than I thought he was.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't have any papers on me right now, but I know some of the original founding fathers, Adams and Jefferson and stuff like that, had some quotes that were not particularly friendly towards religion in general and Christianity specifically. They definitely had their choice words for that.
Right.
So they were pretty hostile towards it.
Well, that's all. I just want everybody listening to watch their Saturday paper, and the Life section always has a cute little, I hate to call it an ad, but it, that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, you got anything else for us?
No, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling. All right, let's go on to Robin, how you doing?
Hi. This is the first time I've ever tuned into your program.
Okay. Right. Welcome.
But thank you. Happy Father's Day, guys.
Thanks.
And I'm just curious, is your atheist experience, is it like a negative or something? Is it, I mean, because, you know, you hear about atheists all the time, and most of them are like God-hating people or whatever.
Well, actually, that's part of the reason why we have the show, is education. No atheists that I know of, and I know quite a few, are atheists because of some kind of bad experience, typically. I would say that in the group, it's maybe about half or so. Half brought up in a religious family, half of them not. I was brought up religiously. I went to church every week. I never believed it. I always had questions and doubts, but certainly nothing bad ever happened to make me say, I hate God.
Do y'all celebrate Christmas? I mean,
not exactly Christmas. Usually we'll have a solstice party around then. And, oh, by the way, tonight's the solstice, too. Today is the longest day of the year.
Right.
No, I mean, we'll have parties, we'll celebrate things like that, but Christmas, we can do some stuff around there. A lot of people do, mostly because while I don't believe that Jesus was born and he's a savior of mankind and all that kind of stuff, they still give us time off work. So I guess
that's a cause for celebration in itself, right?
There you go. But like I say, I mean, it's a common time to get together and see family and friends and that type of thing. Yeah. So for different reasons, I may celebrate it.
And let me take a little stab at your question too. I think that we are, as a rule, kind of skeptical, right? We want to have proofs of things. We want to know what the evidence is for things and such. And it may be that we come across as being kind of standoffish or I don't know, negative or whatever. We are very fond of reality and science and reason and where that takes us. We don't have an agenda, so that may give us an impression of being kind of curmudgeonly or I don't know, dour or whatever. So I don't know.
And I have seen some other groups around the country where their atheist group is 8 senior citizens sitting around the table bitching about religion, and our group, at least, is not like that. We're pretty, generally, the age in our group is pretty young. Are you there? Nope.
Okay, so keep going.
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, I mean, typically we have a pretty young, or younger at least, age profile in our group. And like I say, we're pretty active. Like I say, we have godless gamers every Monday night. We get together and play board games and card games and that type of stuff. It's just a good time. So no, we certainly didn't come to atheism through a fallout with God.
Right.
Don't think he's out there.
And we're out there. We think we're doing positive things as well. We go out and we do a number of activist things. One of the things that I was involved with is arguing with the Texas State Board of Education on the textbooks and their inclusion of scientific concepts and that sort of thing. And
can change the camera too.
And we are
control room.
So we are very much for separation of church and state, and we think that's good for everybody. We think that's good for religious people as well as atheists, and we're out there doing that. And we would love to join forces with anybody else who thinks the same way.
Exactly. So. All right, let's go on to Mike. How you doing?
Hi guys.
Hey, what you got for us?
A couple things. One is you talked earlier about the Pledge of Allegiance and when it was written, and I think you indicated it was written shortly after the Founding Fathers, when actually it was written in the 1890s, either 1895 or 1898.
I thought that was right.
All right, well, thank you for the correction. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, it's written by a Baptist preacher who happened to be a socialist.
Exactly. Right,
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Another thing is, you mentioned something about Thomas's, what he wrote about the Newdow hearing.
Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas.
Right, right. And you mentioned an interesting thing about the Establishment Clause. Another thing that was interesting is he wrote that the Ninth Circuit ruled appropriately based on the precedent set by the Supreme Court. However, he thinks that the Supreme Court should revisit the precedents, and then he goes into the Establishment Clause, and he says that he thinks that having it under God is constitutional.
Yeah.
But he said based on the precedents, he thinks that the Ninth Court ruling was correct.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't quite as bad as I was painting it out to be, right?
Well, yeah, it is. Again, he thinks that the rulings based on the precedence is correct, but he thinks the precedence is wrong.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. And that should be revisited.
Yeah, so that's kind of scary to revisit.
Well, it's a tough problem because, you know, our country's 200+ years old, right? And we have Supreme Court rulings based on various times in the country, and you kind of drag along that history along with you. And it may be that we do need to revisit some of these decisions and evolve them. I mean, the one of the big things about the Constitution is that it can be changed and rethought, and it's a living document. So I maybe agree with the principal, and I'm, you know, less sure about his conclusions on that, because I think he's wanting to take things way back 100 years or so, when it was all about the federalism and the states' rights and such. And
again, I think that to me it's illegal, and the fact that you know I watched Bill O'Reilly just for the entertainment factor of it, and he was talking the other day and said that basically it's unchristian. It's an attack on Christianity to take it out. So to me, if it's anti-Christian to take it out, it's pro-Christian to leave it in.
Absolutely.
Which means that's still legal.
Absolutely.
And these people, they just don't understand that. I don't understand. I mean, they're
it's a siege mentality, right?
Exactly.
That if we uphold our Constitution, it's going to get the Christians.
Yeah.
And they're going to somehow suffer.
If you take it out, nobody's offended, no one's hurt, but you know, they don't see that. When you take it out, it's because you're anti-Christian.
Right. And Christianity and a lot of religions have thrived in this environment where we have this church-state separation, and these religions can go off and do good things and do what they want to do and not be coerced.
Yeah. I mean, there are some Christians who believe in the separation of church and state.
Oh, yes.
And that's
we like those. We like those Christians.
I mean, they want to keep the government out of their religion.
Yeah.
But there are others who want the government to
absolutely, they should be concerned because they shouldn't want to have government involved in their.
Yeah. And actually, the head of the ACLU is Barry White, I want to say, or something like that. I can't remember the name, but he is a religious minister.
You're thinking of the Americans United.
ACLU.
For the separation of church and state, and you're thinking of Barry Lynn, I think.
Okay.
So Barry Lynn is the oops on that, but yes, he is a minister. He's a reverend. So, which is a double-edged sword because he actually can argue from the religious perspective about church-state separation, but he has a little more trouble arguing the atheist perspective, which is often a little bit harsher, and a little cutting to the chase a little bit more. But so it's.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I had. Good show, guys.
Okay. Thank you for the clarifications. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it's always interesting to read the different amicus brief and opinions that they had before the decision came out, or lack of decision. Just to say that it's purely ceremonial that we have it in there. It's a historical thing. It doesn't really mean anything specific, and so since it's not specifically Christianity or religious, or not promoting religious, we can just leave it in because it doesn't really mean anything. If you want to take that view, that's fine, but you're kind of losing your own battle with that one, because apparently it means a lot to other people. All the people who want to have it taken out. It's hurting them a lot more than, apparently, it's hurting you. So, have it taken out. If it doesn't mean anything, take it out.
And there's a similar argument that it's historical in nature, and if the pledge said, well, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America that was founded by people who believed in God, blah blah blah. That's fact. No one would argue with that. But it's the pledge as it is with the children saying it. That's right here and now. That is saying
we are a nation who is currently under God.
That's right. So while the pledge may have been written a long time ago, they're saying it is quite current. So So those are good points.
All right, let's go on to John. How you doing?
Hey, all right. Love the show, Ashley.
Thank you.
And I was wondering about the separation of church and state, and I've always been pretty skeptical. I mean, I was kind of forced to learn about Jesus, and I think I was just thinking just now, if what I've been told about Jesus, if the Romans had a better system of separation of church and state, wouldn't he have not been crucified? I mean, as far as what I have been told about what happened to Jesus, if they had a good system of separation of church and state, well, I mean, it would have been thrown out of court.
Yeah, those were different times back then.
Yeah.
Right.
That's an interesting line of thought.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought of it, and I always watch the show. I thought maybe you guys might have some thoughts on that too.
Right. Right.
Well, like I say, that was definitely a different time back then. So.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think one of the original problems that the Romans had with Christianity is not that they believed in a different God and had this Jesus guy, but that they were stopping to give sacrifices and such to the official Roman gods. That was the real issue.
Okay.
And it was really more kind of, we can conceptualize it today as kind of a defense issue, right? Right. We have in our country we have a military, and we are able to go out and do things and defend our borders and that sort of thing. And for them, having these gods and giving tribute to these gods was a way of having those gods smile on the Roman Empire and help them out, right? So if they stopped with these sacrifices and gifts to the gods, then they were basically leaving themselves vulnerable, right? So here we had this group of Christians not sacrificing to the gods, and that's just bad news. That's today like saying today, I'm not going to pay my taxes because it's going towards defense. So that's how a way to kind of bring those ideas back into our current time. So it's pretty interesting time in history, no doubt. The birth of Christianity, very interesting time.
Okay.
All right. Do you have anything else for us?
Oh, well, I was also wondering along the lines of that. I guess that would also make a good starting point for Christian monotheism, going against the Roman polytheism.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks a lot for calling.
Bye.
All right, let's go on to Ray. How you doing?
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, what you got for us?
This is Ray Blevins, man.
Hey, dude, how you been?
Hey, I've been out of town, man. I just got back in town. Glad to see the show now, man.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. Still doing the bagel shop?
Bagel shop has gone bye-bye.
Oh, has it?
Wrecking ball style bye-bye.
Well, it's a club now.
Oh, is it a club?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, our meetings now, for everybody who's listening, we're meeting every Sunday at 11:30 at Crescent City Beignets, which is on 6th Street, a couple blocks west of Lamar. That's every Sunday at 11:30. Yeah, the bagel shop went kerflooey big time. Basically, we all showed up one Sunday, and the place was gutted. So it was kind of a, hang on, that's kind of, they didn't tell us about that one there.
Yeah, we miss them.
Yeah, but how you been?
Pretty good. I was trying to make a living in Florida, and it didn't work, so I'm back in Austin.
Yeah,
well, I'm glad I find out where he's at. I guess I could check the website, because I was thinking about coming down there Sunday morning and seeing everybody.
Okay.
But I just saw something here the other day that I had no idea. I was helping a friend of mine with the taxes and was going over the medical part, and it turns out you can actually deduct Christian Science as a medical expense.
You're joking.
No, it's in the IRS booklet. I'm trying to find out more details on that. I just found this out last week.
Isn't it?
Now, I think those are the ones who, again, this was a couple of years back, who their daughter had some kind of bone cancer. And they didn't get her any medical attention until the tumor on her shoulder was literally the size of a basketball.
Yeah.
And that's when they finally said, maybe praying isn't actually doing all that much. Maybe we should see a doctor.
Yeah, it's one thing for adults to do that, but when it affects children, that's just really sad.
Exactly.
I'm trying to figure out what kind of medical charge a Christian Science would charge you, because they were saying it's a legal deduction, and I'm just totally blown away with that.
Well, Christian Scientists believe that prayer is basically a means of becoming healed from various ills, and they don't believe in medicine and that sort of thing. So that's where it stems from. Is sort of alternative medicine spun with Christianity.
Yeah,
is kind of what it is.
You're giving them money to pay. You're giving them money to pray for you.
Well, I think you go and you do. They have these reading rooms. You go and you read, and that's supposed to make you well.
Yeah, basically, I think their idea is that all sicknesses and diseases are basically demons.
Yeah.
It's basically a demonic influence, and that is why you're sick. And so, if you pray more and you believe in God more, then you'll be healed because the demons will be exorcised.
Right.
Well, I'll definitely do more research on that and try to find out how that ever got into the IRS. I'm amazed the IRS ever let that one slide by.
Yeah, that's one of those interesting areas. The Christian Science Monitor, however, is a quite decent newspaper, but we don't buy their beliefs, and I'm willing to bet if someone were to look at the longevity of Christian scientists and versus atheists or any other group, that they'd die earlier. You know, I'm willing to bet that's the case. I don't have any data on that.
Yeah.
So.
We'll tell everybody else in the group I said hey, and I'm back in town. I guess I'll see you down there Sunday morning.
Definitely.
Good deal.
Definitely. Good to see you back. Thanks for calling. That was Ray Blevins. He was actually, I want to say one of the original people who started up this TV show. Either the original host or possibly the co-host, or came into it very soon after. But yeah, he's been here for a long time. So good to see you back in town. Definitely want to see you at a meeting sometime. All right, let's go on to Tom. How you doing?
Doing all right.
All right, what you got for us?
I'm calling about the fact that when we talk about the founding fathers, it's important that everybody says that they wanted freedom for everybody, but those freedoms stop with Christian mores, and when those mores dictate that we can't go farther, that's where our freedom stops. And the most current example
I'm not
of
sure
that.
I quite understand that.
I mean, like right now is the big discussion about.
You there? Hello? Okay, I think we might have just lost him. Tom, if you want to give us a call back, we'll try and get you back on the air. Sorry about that. I think we had a little goof there.
I don't know if it was our end on our end or not.
But not too sure exactly who the problem was.
So let's take another call in between, and maybe he can call back.
And we have got some screwiness going on with the phone there, so if the control room could check on that, we've just got strange light things going on.
So we're sorry if we dropped you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So let's take another call.
All right.
In the or not.
I don't know if we can take either of those calls.
Really?
That's looking odd.
Okay.
We can try and go for Stuart. Are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm right here.
Okay.
Good deal.
Okay, we just have strange in here. Thanks. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I heard it on the phone, but no big deal.
What you got for us?
Yeah, I grew up in a really strong religious town and whatnot, and abusive church. I can put it as abusive. They forced me kind of to learn, you got to do this, you got to do that, whatnot.
Okay.
Basically, my life's evolved through Christianity, and now I'm starting to notice myself pull away from it just to protect myself, because I got into a state of depression after Christianity, and it did a lot. I'm sure a lot of
there's some heavy stuff there, by all means.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know. I'm kind of pursuing, this whole, atheist. I don't really know yet. I'm just kind of stuck with it, and just wanted to know, as you move on, I guess day after day, what's your hope for tomorrow or whatnot? Do you have any,
That's a really good question.
Assuming that there is no God or religion or something like that, what's the point, basically?
Yeah.
I'm thrilled you asked that question.
Sounds like you have an answer lined
up.
Well,
I do. I think we come on here and we say we're rational scientists and all that stuff, and gosh, isn't that sterile? And that doesn't really describe me. I have a lot of hope for humanity and our ability to solve problems, and yes, we're screwing up in a lot of areas, but I have hope that we can advance ourselves. We can stop polluting. We can fix the global warming problem and the deforestation and all these other things that are things that we're doing that we shouldn't be doing or should be mitigating or something. But I have a lot of hope, and I'm very encouraged by our what technology is doing for us, and our understanding of our brains and ourselves and our human nature, and science and the world out there, the universe, I should say. I'm just super optimistic and super excited about living in this time, and
that's kind of the long-term view. I guess I was thinking a bit more short-term, and what's going on in my life I guess I take the literal view of tomorrow. I view our outlook on life is I should be a good person because the things that I do affect my life. If I screw around with other people and hurt them in some way because it's fun or it doesn't hurt me or because I then get their money out of the situation or their car, chances are they're going to be pretty ticked off and come back at me in some way. Yeah. So that's the reason that I'm good. And as far as the good things in life, with or without religion, you still have friends, you still have family. Last night, as an ACA thing, every month we have a potluck. And so I went over with my date, and we went to the potluck, and we just had a great time with a whole bunch of close friends. It was just a good time. Every Monday night we have another meeting. We have some meetings every Sunday. I mean, I've got a great group of friends. They really mean a lot to me. I've got family. And so I've got a lot of things to live for. I mean, I love my job. So there's a lot of good things going on in my life that's a reason for me to get up in the morning, even though I'm not going to be eternally rewarded when I die.
Okay.
So.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Had another thing to add about the whole, I guess, Pledge of Allegiance thing. I guess that's the topic of the day. But just wanted to say, I think it would be totally in the interest of Christians to get it out of the government, because if they leave it there, it's free realm for every other religion to get involved and take over the government or whatnot. So it's just, I mean, that's...
Well, this is where you get into kind of a majority rules thing. And there's a tension of that in the United States where, we're a democracy, which means that when the majority of people want something, that tends to happen. But at the same time, we're a republic, meaning that, or we have the notion of the Constitution protects minorities, it protects the sort of people who would otherwise be squashed, and there's a tension there, right? And so I think the majority religion wants to have sort of control and nods or acknowledgement of their God in the Constitution and in other realms of the state. When they're the majority, but when they're the minority, then they have a completely different standpoint, right? So, and I think that this is sort of human nature, unfortunately. When you have control over things, you don't want to let it go, and you don't want to necessarily play fair. So,
a lot of people don't mind if government starts promoting their religion, as long as it's their religion. A lot of people say, yeah, okay, we have God in the Pledge, we have the Ten Commandments up. Not a big problem with that.
Doesn't bother me, yeah. This is the attitude.
What if it was, a court that put up, exactly, Allah, and, something that says, kill the infidels, on, behind the judge in big placard, and then a Christian walks in there and says, oh shit. Yeah. So as long as it's their religion, they're okay with it.
Yeah.
And so that's why most of the people don't have a big problem with Christianity and government, because, well, they agree with it.
Okay.
So...
All right, well, thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, thanks a lot for calling. Okay. All right, let's go on to, let's see. Judge, how you doing?
Hey, guys, how you doing today?
Hey.
Just to start with, one man's religion is another man's belly laugh.
Yes. I actually had that quote in my email for a while.
I had a t-shirt like that from the Tucson Atheist Community.
Okay.
But I wanted to start with, first of all, Jesus never existed, and I'm not saying that out of any kind of hatred towards any kind of religion.
Jesus never what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Existed? Never existed.
The evidence for Jesus existing is pretty flimsy.
Yeah, it's minute, without a doubt.
Okay.
What I want to say is I watch you guys faithfully when I'm sober, but.
Now there's a testimonial for you.
Why is it? Yeah. I'm a recovering Catholic and I'm a drug addict. I don't know.
Okay.
But, why are we always defensive about our belief or our using the word faith to being an atheist? I watch you guys on the show, and we're always defending our stand or our beliefs. But the Christians or anyone with a religion doesn't have to do that. It's naturally accepted because that's their religion.
Yeah. It's mostly because Christianity, or at least religion in some form, is the accepted norm in this country. And so essentially we're getting questions about how can you be atheist and how can you not believe in God and stuff. And you're defaulted into the position of saying, well, we don't believe because blah, 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 blah.
Right, we have to kind of contrast ourselves to the norm in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, in my personal life, it's almost to the point, because most of my friends are atheists, that when I meet someone who is not, it's almost like, ooh, that's kind of neat. Why do you believe in God? And it just doesn't go over very well. You know, they don't get it.
It doesn't make God stuff, is it? I can make you're talking about the separation of church and state, and there is none. Definitely not. We're talking about Kerry running and being a Catholic, and our state, the legislature and the Senate, and who's a Christian, who's a Baptist, who's whatever.
To be fair,
I didn't see one atheist in there.
Yeah,
not one. They didn't mention one.
To be fair, though, we do not live in a religious-run state, as in you are not mandated to be part of a religion. You are not punished in any way, shape, or form.
But don't you feel their moral values are put on me through the laws that are made by people with those religious beliefs and those morals?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Christianity. And
to a certain
everyone
extent.
Can say they're a Christian. I can sit in a bar with somebody and they smoke a joint or a cigarette or they're drinking a beer, but they call themselves a Christian. Are they practicing Christians? Are they real Christians, but they believe in God, so they're Christians? It becomes a flimsy philosophy to me.
Yeah. Most Christians are not living as such. So
true church and state. Just one more point I'd like to make. During the 14th and 15th century, the reason for art being so religious during that period is that artists could not get commissioned if they did anything other than religious art, because that's how they got paid, because the church or religious community was so active within the state, within government.
Yeah, I've heard the argument that purgatory was kind of an invention of the church, and the effect of that was that you know,
everything's an invention of the church.
Well, of course, right, but even more so. I mean,
God, man.
Right, but above and beyond the Bible, right? It was an invention of the Catholic Church, and had the effect of the idea of purgatory is that if you do some good in the world, then you will spend less time in this purgatory before you go on to heaven, right? It's a kind of a holding place or whatever, and it had the effect of making people do things for the church in order to spend with the idea of them spending less time in purgatory. And I understand that a lot of the religious work, or a lot of the art and such at that time was religious because of that reason, which is more or less what you're saying.
You couldn't get paid unless you were an artist.
Right.
Yeah.
It was one other point. Why are there no modern day miracles? I mean, there's burning bushes and parting of seas.
Well, you know, according to the Catholic Church, we have Mother Teresa performing a miracle after her death. So we have claims of miracles. We have.
I ain't seen no Red Sea parting, though.
Yeah, well, what miracle?
Yeah,
right.
and actually,
Copperfield. Oh, yeah, he must be in.
Yeah, we got a call a couple weeks.
By God. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for calling. Yeah. We actually had a call a week or two back talking about, you know, what evidence would it take for you to believe in God, and miracles would certainly be a part of that. And I'm not saying any single miracle, because that could be either explained or hallucination or who knows what. But if the Red Seas are parting in front of me, if I see bushes burning and not being consumed, if I see sticks turning into snakes and back and forth, if I see somebody turning water into wine, and this is like a daily occurrence, I'm going to start at least questioning it a little bit more.
Right.
So
there's this James Randi Foundation, and they're a pretty interesting group. They're basically professional skeptics, and they have $1 million challenge. If you have some sort of paranormal or supernatural thing that you can demonstrate and do that in a controlled environment. You know, there's always this claim that, oh well, you know, the aura doesn't work today or whatever, or God doesn't. All you skeptics in the room, you're ruining my powers. Right. So if you have a miracle and you can demonstrate it in a controlled environment with people looking at you and looking under the curtain and all that good stuff, you can stand and make $1 million.
Exactly, and if it's not about the money and you don't need the money, then you can donate it to charity.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
All right, let's go on to another caller. We have got Tom. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm the fellow who was on a minute ago, and I was taking a long time to
very
getting
sorry
around. I was getting around to saying that I hope that the atheists are going to be supporting the freedom of people to marry whom they choose.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because this is so obviously a Christian ideal that is that the courts have held up all these years, and it's time that we get rid of this one too.
Yeah, the ACA has issued the board has issued a statement,
something like that.
To that effect that they see no secular argument for prohibiting same-sex marriage, and they've come out in favor of it, and I'm very proud of them for doing that. I think that's a great decision.
Oh, I agree, and I thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for calling. And sorry to cut you off earlier. So.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
All right.
Must be the cable TV ground.
All right, let's go on to James. How you doing?
I'm doing great, sir.
All right, welcome back.
I have another question for you.
Okay, what's that one?
Okay, just because one becomes a member of government, it does not necessarily mean he should check all personal views and opinions at the door.
Oh, of course not.
According to this correct concept, the Constitution does not allow members of government to pass laws regarding the establishing of religion. It does, however, allow them to have their own personal views and opinions.
Oh, of course.
Regarding religion, it even allows them to publicly endorse and express these personal views.
Now, that's where it
that's
kind
a
of
gray
starts
area,
cutting off.
right?
And opinions while acting in an official government capacity.
That actually is not correct, though. What they can do is
this issue.
what they actually can do is, if I am an elected official, I can be as religious or non-religious as I want. I can go home and kneel down on my front lawn and, beat myself silly and pray to God. And that's perfectly fine. I just can't go in my elected official position as my job and say other people should be doing the same thing. And other people should be praying and believing in God and such. I can believe whatever I want. I just can't make laws enforcing that in any way, if it's religiously based. So that's where the line is drawn. So no, while personally they can believe whatever they want and do whatever they want, they just can't do that as a public official. Our government officials, as elected, cannot get up there and say, "I think Christianity is the way to go. Yay, Christianity."
Yeah, and I think there's a deeper issue here, and that is the sort of conflict of interest of if you are an elected official, your first duty is in that capacity is to represent the people that elected you, and to be a public servant and to do your job as a public servant, right? But we have a lot of folks who believe that their belief in God and such is the foundation of their existence, and everything else is secondary. And in a sense, we have these two very different views, and this is effectively what's going on in the United States, is a kind of a cultural war between these two. I think it's between these two views of secular government, or the government that's neutral to religion, versus strongly believing in God and carrying that mission forward through the government, even if that means destroying principles of separation of church and state and imposing religious views on others. And this is a very big issue right now, and if you firmly believe in God, I can certainly see that you might come to that conclusion. I don't agree with it. And I think that this is a big problem, and I think we're going to see this play out for a long time. Yeah. So you've touched on a very important issue, and we need to solve that somehow.
Yeah. And he did hang up while on hold there. So, but yeah, this general separation of church and state, it's in place for a really good reason, and that's because it protects everybody involved, religious people and non-religious and other religions alike. It's basically good that the government is not imposing itself on any religion, because it can be detrimental to anyone who is not of that particular religion. Now, regardless of how narrowly you want to define it, as being, if the government comes up and says, okay, we believe in the Episcopal Church only, or something like that, then everyone who's not Episcopalian is going to get ticked off. Fine, we'll take it.
Or outright persecuted.
Yeah. Okay, fine. We'll take it a little more generally then. We're Christians. We believe in Christianity. Well, now you got all the Jews and the Muslims and the atheists and the Buddhists and all the other religions saying, not quite fair. So fine, let's broaden it even more. You know, we're fine. We just believe in God. Well, again, then you've got the people who believe in multiple gods or no gods. So again, it's there for everybody's protection, not just the atheists. So religious people should be fighting for the separation of church and state just as much as we are.
And as part of our laws, it shouldn't be controversial. Good grief.
Exactly. Exactly. Again, if you read some of the arguments that are out there, again, Jeff D. was actually on the show a long time ago talking about the amicus brief of the other side.
We're running out of time.
They were ridiculous. There were some really
goofy arguments.
Out and out bad arguments. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching the show.
Thank you to our callers
for filling in at the last minute and being
happy to
co-host.
be here. Worked out pretty well.
Anyway, we've got week's meetings every Sunday at 11:30 at Crescent City Beignets, 6th Street, west of Lamar. Come down and meet us. We'd love to see you there.
Bye.
Everyone have a great week.